Yo, what's good, y'all? Welcome back. We back with another video. I know it's been a little minute. It's been like 5 days, 6 days since I dropped a video, but I decided to come back. Been chilling a little bit, slacking, and I'm back. And we gonna be dropping videos like we were before. So you see the title. We're gonna be talking about these top teams that have been major disappointments in the league so far this season. So without further ado, let's sit down and let's talk about this because there's a few teams that belong on here that we're going to mention. And starting off with the Eastern Conference, we're going to kick off with my New York Knicks, who are currently 17-19 after 36 games. And coming into the season had pretty decent sized expectations after making the playoffs last season with a weak roster. And they were the 4th seed. This offseason, added Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, a new backcourt to help Julius Randle, who just came off a Most Improved Player, second team All-NBA season. But instead, this team has taken steps backwards. Not a step, steps backwards. As a group defensively, they're a horrible defensive team, and that was their calling card last season, being a good defensive team. Offensively, they're taking the wrong approach. Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, who were the top 2 options last season, have taken a step backwards. Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, who were the major offseason acquisitions, have been inconsistent and have been negatives defensively all season long. And this team, they have shown flashes. They've shown flashes to compete with the big dogs. They've shown flashes to win games. But there's been way too many times where this team has almost lost to weaker competition, like against the Detroit Pistons G League team, basically, a few nights ago, where they were up and then they went into the third quarter and they went down by 14 points. So we see a lot of that. And right now they're 10th in the Eastern Conference at the time of this video, and they look like a play-in / lottery team. I wouldn't even be shocked if they didn't even make the playoffs this season. That's how disappointing this team has been. The bench has been a major W. It was last season, still is this season, but coaching is a problem. Starting 5 is a problem. The key guys that were a success last season are not a success this season, and this is why this team doesn't look like a top 6 team in the East this year, because just a lot of inconsistency and a lot of taking a step back. The next team to mention is the Boston Celtics, who are in a similar spot as New York. They have a great 1-2 punch with their young star duo in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but a part of me feels that this duo is not the best fit. I mean, they're 2 wings. Jason Tatum's more of a, he's a forward, 6'9", bigger than Jaylen Brown is, but they have similar styles. Jason Tatum is more jump shot orientated, whatever, messed up the word, I don't care. But Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, similar positions. I just don't really see the fit as much as I did when they first were starting to grow together. They don't have real point guard play besides Dennis Schroeder at times and Marcus Smart, who I don't really feel is a great point guard. This team has dealt with injuries and obviously protocol, but I feel every team has dealt with that. And their bench just hasn't been the greatest help. They're one of the lowest scoring benches in the NBA this season. They're 9th in the conference. And to consider where they were in 2018 with rookie Jason Tatum and the hope they had after losing to LeBron James in that Game 7 in 2018 in the conference finals, to see where they are now, it's disappointing for sure. And the team is pretty much getting worse, in my opinion, as the games go on. Now for this team had just come off an Eastern Conference Finals appearance last year and had high expectations this season. But the Atlanta Hawks are a disappointing team. And I know they've dealt with a lot of injuries, but that's no real excuse for why this team's been bad, because there have been times where they've been healthy and they just haven't looked consistent. The Hawks have been a pretty, not the greatest defensive team, but they've been a top 12 offensive team. We know they can score, but I don't know if they can defend at a high level. The Hawks they got good young talent, led by obviously franchise point guard Trae Young. But like I said, injuries to guys like DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, it's hurt them. And obviously the protocol has absolutely destroyed them the past few weeks. And before they were hurt, though, they were still an inconsistent team. Now, can they pick it up? I think so, because they started off similar last season. They weren't that great, and they finished real strong And they had people like me thinking, maybe this year they can start off super strong as an elite regular season team. Right now, they're kind of on that same footing as last year. Maybe they can pick it up and, maybe they can go back to the playoffs. Do I think they'll go as far with the new teams in the Eastern Conference that are making a push? I don't think so. Because, I thought they had a shot to go to conference finals this year, but it doesn't really look the same. But so far, they're a play-in/lottery team right now, and it's kind of sucks to see considering how good they were last year. But right now, I'm going to hold off, and I'm going to say that Atlanta Hawks will be a playoff team by the end of the season. They've been inconsistent, but I think they'll be a playoff team. Next team up is the Indiana Pacers, who are in a weird spot. They're a weird team. They got no direction. In my opinion, they need a rebuild. They've had a similar roster since 2018 and haven't went nowhere at all, besides first round exits year after year. And you can argue that their best season, in terms of long success, was the Victor Oladipo year where he made the All-Star game and they lost to LeBron in that Game 7. That was the best year, and that was like the first year that they had that core together. I think that was their best year. And now it looks like they're heading straight to the lottery, and all their good players are on the trade block. Sabonis has been called not a real star by their GM. Miles Turner has felt disrespected by Pacers management as well, and I think it's time to just break it up. They sit right now with a 14-22 record and look like a team that's done trying to win in Indiana. They need to rebuild. They need to build through the draft because they're not really a free agent destination. Domantas Sabonis is not a franchise star. He is a complimentary star. Malcolm Brogdon is a complimentary piece. So Indiana needs to hit the full reset button, build with guys like Chris Duarte, and build through the up-and-coming drafts. Now, the team we're about to talk about right now, this team is probably the biggest disappointment in the whole league, and that is the preseason title favorite, LA Lakers. This team is 18-19, one game below 500. LeBron is the reason why they're even one game below 500 because he's been going off recently. But this team is so inconsistent. It's crazy to see them play on a night-to-night basis. LeBron's dealt with injury, but since coming back has been putting up MVP caliber numbers. But the team can't win against real competition. They can't. They get blown out or they lose and just, they flat out lose against real competition. Russell Westbrook is not a fit on the roster. We've said this millions of times on this channel. Continues to show he's an out-of-control basketball player. Is he a Hall of Famer? Yes. Doesn't mean that he's not in control, though. He's never in control when he's playing basketball. I don't know why. He's moving 99 miles per hour, turnover machine. That's the way it is right now, though, and he just clearly doesn't fit. Anthony Davis is currently injured, but when he was healthy, he was playing bad basketball for his standards, too. So he doesn't even get a pass as well. The team is old. They don't defend. They can't score in efficient ways, which puts them at jeopardy to make the playoffs. Now, will they probably make the playoffs? Yes, because I do think the talent is still there to win games in the regular season. But considering the expectations, they've put themselves in a pretty big hole, especially in the Western Conference. And they got the league's hardest remaining schedule left to deal with. So we'll see what happens with the Lakers. But right now, the biggest disappointment in the NBA easily is them. Now to the Dallas Mavericks, who have made no real offseason moves, and it shows with this team. Luka and Kristaps Porzingis have been in and out of the lineup constantly all season long. Luka's been playing decent basketball by his standards, but not his best. Came in out of shape. And the team relies on those two to win games way too much, in my opinion. The lack of depth on this team shows a lot, and that's why they're about 17-18 so far this season, and they're on the bottom half of the playoff picture in the Western Conference this season. They got no depth, no bench. The starting lineup isn't that great, and they're one of the league's worst teams in points per game, and in the league average in offensive and defensive rating, which pretty much sums up why their record is what it is, and why they're pretty much a 500 basketball team when you see them play, and why they're a 500 basketball team statistically. You see it with those two stats right there. Now on to the biggest disappointment. Well, not the biggest, but this is this is due. This team right here is due for a rebuild. It needs to happen. The Portland Trailblazers are basically the Western Conference version of the Pacers, but they've been doing it for longer. They need to break this team up. I don't want to see it anymore. They went 2-11 in December. They've had the same core of players for years. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, Jusuf Nurkic. This team has been the same for a lot of years. Dame is playing horrible for his standards, shooting horribly from the field and from three. CJ McCollum has been injured for a good half of this season so far, and he puts up the same numbers when he is healthy. You know, he's still a good basketball player, no hate on him. This team made no offseason improvements. They're not making the playoffs, in my opinion, at all. They play no defense, but they never were a defensive team. Even when they went far in 2019, they weren't a defensive team. Offensively, though, they're not good either, which is a big reason why they're not making the playoffs this year. If your offense can't even make up for your horrible defense, there's no shot you make the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference. It's not happening. The Blazers have to get broken up. They need to trade them, especially Dame and CJ. They need to go. Portland needs to hit the rebuild button after this season or even during the deadline and look into the draft before they ruin their draft positioning by keeping this team and winning unnecessary games, because they ain't going nowhere with this team. That's for sure. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Link will be down in the description. This has been a checkup where we talk hoops and hoops only. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.